Okay. Hey everybody, it's Kira. Welcome back to another video. My bookshelf is an absolute mess behind me, and that is for one very good reason. I'm filming all the books that I read in 2021. I had a really good reading year. I got back into reading last year during COVID a little bit. It's probably the best thing that happened to me during COVID. I read like 13 books last year, and this year I read 40 books, so I'm really excited to share them all with you guys, and I'm going to go over my stats a little bit. There's so many good books that I read this year, like a lot of really popular ones. A lot of you guys will probably recognize most of the books in this wrap up. I'm also a little sick if you can't tell. I was going to get a COVID test today. We picked up a rapid test from my uncle's house. The test was, we didn't get all the things you need for it. I just hope I don't have COVID. My winter break just got extended, so we'll see, but I'm isolating for 5 days regardless. I'm already on the 4th day. Let's get started. I have my Goodreads here. Actually, no, should I go through my stats first? Yeah, maybe I should. Where is it? My camera, okay. There we go. Yeah, 40 books. I read, okay, I'm not good at math. 14,883 books this year. 14,883 pages. You know, we always round up. Let's just round that to 15,000. Shortest book was The Body by Stephen King, which is 192 pages. Longest book was The Stand by Stephen King, which was 1,440 pages. My average book length was 372 pages. My average rating was 4.3 stars. Pretty high, but you'll see why. Like, based off these books, you'll understand why it's so high. So, first book I read in 2021 was Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. Now, this book, easiest 5 stars ever. It was absolutely fantastic. It's so powerful. It puts everything into perspective, and it's so insightful. It made me bawl my eyes out. It was really eye-opening read, and I stayed up till 4 a.m. screeching. And it's crazy because her dream was to become a writer, a popular writer, and here she is, and she never got to know it. So this was just a really incredible read. I recommend it to absolutely everybody. Oh my god. Next book was Eleanor Park by Rainbow Rowell. I wonder if that's her real name, Rainbow. You think? Both of these two are on my favorites shelf. This one, I absolutely love this. It's a book about these two people. Eleanor and Park are in high school. Are they in high school? Yeah. In the 80s. And it is so incredible. It's their little romance. It's the cutest thing ever. I love it because it's like coming of age, romance. Oh my god, I just love books like this, and the romance, it's so cute. Like, you know, bringing the little comics for each other and making little mixtapes and putting each other on. Oh god, if you love 80s music, this is a great one to read because like there's a lot of band references. Like the Smiths were in here a lot, which was so cool. They're both going through their own stuff, you know, and I just love books like this. Kind of like a contemporary romance, and it was set in the 80s. Like, it does not get better than that. Next book was The Fault in Your Stars by John Green. This was obviously amazing. Everyone knows and loves this book. It was like really hyped up. I read it and I was just like surprised with all the hype, but I mean, there's not a lot of books like this, you know. Really good. It was really heartbreaking to read. It was just so sad. It was really touching as well, and I cried. Next we have 2 Patrick Ness books. This one is The Knife of Never Letting Go. This one was a longer one. This is 500 pages just about, and I read it in 5 days. I like dedicated myself to reading 100 pages a day. Patrick Ness, I realized after reading his 2 books, like, he's such a gifted writer. At the end of every chapter there was one of those hooks, and I do love reading books like that. Like, some people think it's forced, and like, sure, but it makes the book so interesting, and I just could not stop reading. This was a really good read, and I mean, it's so like fascinating. Prentice Town isn't like other towns. Everyone can hear everyone's thoughts in an overwhelming, never-ending stream of noise. But in a town where privacy is impossible, there is a secret so awful that Todd, still months shy of being a man, must run for his life. How do you escape when your pursuers can hear your every thought? I feel like that's a really hard concept to like, I feel like there's so many, I feel like as you're writing it, there'd be so many things where like, oh shoot, this doesn't make sense, but he pulled it off so well. Next book, like I said, another Patrick Ness book, The Monster Calls. The illustrations, can we just talk about that for a second? So stunning. It just really heightened the reading experience. Like, they're really cool, like half on the page. It's just really awesome. This book made me cry. I read this in one sitting and it was just fantastic. It was so touching. I think this concept There was so much symbolism, and just the way this was done was really brilliant. Next book we have on this list is in my top 3 books of all time. I love them all equally, but it's probably my favorite just because the story means so much to me. It's The Body by Stephen King. Everyone read this book. If you don't know, I'm sure a lot of you guys will have seen the movie Stand By Me. It's about 4 boys. They go on this journey to find a missing body, and they walk along the train tracks. They're running away from a train. I'm sure a lot of people would recognize that. Let's just take a moment to adore that cover. It's so stunning. But this is my favorite story of all time. Like, these characters mean so much to me. But yeah, they go on a quest for his body. It's the summer. When is it set in? I believe it's set in like 1959. There's a lot of symbolism in this book. Each of the boys has something going on in their own life that they're dealing with. Their problems are all very different, yet it kind of brings them together. And it is so, oh my god, this is my favorite movie of all time, favorite book of all time. I just absolutely love the story. The characters are so real. So many people go through these things, and it was one of the first stories, because this came out in the 80s, I believe, and it was one of the first stories that really showcased like boys crying and boys being emotional. Because before, you know, it's all about like the macho look or whatever. It's more than just a story. Like, these boys' problems are so real, and these characters come to life. The most important things are the hardest to say because words diminish them. It's hard to make strangers care about the good things in your life. And it's written by Stephen King. You can learn so much from these characters and what they're going through. Next book, I read it as an audiobook, so I don't have it with me, but it's Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. Absolutely fantastic. So amazing. It's set in the 70s, and it's this family. This girl goes missing. Their daughter goes missing. It's like kind of like a mystery. Like, it's not meant to be a mystery, but it's like the whole book you're wondering what happened to her, and like you're trying to understand, like, oh, did she do this? Did she do that? You know, mainly the book is set on family dynamics and how it affects the youngest child, the middle child, or the oldest. How it affects the parents, and it just goes to show how it kind of tears up this family and all the things that they were going through in their lives before and after it happened. And it's just incredible. Definitely by far one of the best books I've read in 2021. And then I have Crank, which I rented from my school library. This is about a teenage girl who becomes addicted to drugs, and I thought it was alright. I feel like, though, I can't really like say a lot of things I think about it, because, you know, it's not like I've experienced that, and I don't know, like, I know some people in my life, but not a lot to the point where I feel like I can kind of talk about it. Like, it didn't stand out to me. Then I read The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Such a powerful book. So powerful. This book is so necessary, and I think everybody should read it. It has such a high rating on Goodreads for a really good reason. It's so eye-opening, and the whole book is just revolving around race, and I thought there was really unique points that really stood out to me that about race, which I feel like I of course can be more educated on, right? That I didn't really know. There's of course things I still don't understand and probably won't ever understand, right? But there's really points that like really put things into perspective for me in the book, and I was like, wow. It's always important to hear both sides of a story, and hearing a lot of these perspectives in here, I was just like, they really open your eyes, and I was like, wow, and I sympathize with them so much. It was absolutely incredible. It's such an eye-opener. Read this. Next book I read was 5 Feet Apart. So amazing. It was so sweet. It was such a sweet book. I loved it. Some people thought it was mediocre, and like, sure, it's a romance, and they're set in the hospital, because I forget what the condition's called, but they have this issue with breathing in their chest, like a respiratory issue, and it puts things into perspective. Like, it made me realize how like lucky I am to not really have to struggle to breathe. Also, the cover is so stunning. Next book was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I also don't have the copy because I listened to the audiobook, but I'm glad I did, because a lot of people were saying how the audiobook is a lot better. The book is in an audiobook format, so when you read it, I feel like there might not be a lot of emotion when you're reading it on paper, but through the audiobook, they actually have, like, there's so many characters, right? And they have a different narrator for each character, and it really brings like this whole thing to life, and there's like emotion in what they're speaking, and it feels so real. It's on my favorites list. It was incredible. I love bands. Like, is that a dumb thing to say? I love the whole culture around bands, you know, like these groups kind of just like wrestling through all their adversity in life together, like living out of a van and just finding joy out of the simple things in life, you know, like just performing and doing what they love, even though, you know, they might not have that much money or whatever, and they're sacrificing a lot to do it. I love it so much. And this book is about a band in the 70s, different characters going through their own things. You know what they say, sex, drugs, rock and roll. It just talks about a lot of different things that bands experience and go through. Also a little bit of a romance mixed in there, but it's also kind of like there's a lot of tension surrounding it. Oh my god, everybody read it. I'm gonna reread it because it was just fantastic. I think it's such a unique, cool book. I've never read a book like that. It was amazing. Next book was We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. This cover is really stunning. I really liked it. I think I actually gravitated towards it mostly because of the cover. Funny, it has a gold medal and all that, but I just thought it was like, okay. It's about this girl in college and kind of just like her feeling a little bit out of place, and I just didn't connect with it that much, probably because I'm not in college. So I just gave that like 2 stars, I think. Next book was Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. I read this also in audiobook. It was so powerful. I don't really think my words can do it justice. Just go read it for yourself because a lot of symbolism. It had a really big impact on me. Like I just sat like, wow, like this book is a masterpiece. It really is. Next book is The Woman in the Window. I love this cover so much. I actually watched the movie for the first time like yesterday, the day before. Movies are never as good as the books, right? This book was really, it was really interesting. It was really gripping. It doesn't like stand out to me too much or anything out of thrillers I read, but it was really good. I really like the whole idea of this woman who's afraid to go outside. She has a phobia where she is afraid to leave her house. She's drinking a lot, and she's also taking some prescription drugs with that alcohol. So she's claiming what she saw, but no one's really believing her. So you're kind of questioning her liability because there's kind of like multiple twists. It's just really good. Great book, love it. Looking for Alaska. I love this cover, by the way. I actually wanted to get this cover specifically because it's so pretty. This book I actually want to reread because I feel like I went through it too fast a little. But I have to say, it's one of those ones where at the end, I just sat there and I was like, wow, like this is one of the first times where I really took away something really powerful from a book. John Green, he knew what he was doing when he was writing that. He knew how he was going to end that and his message for this book, and I just thought it was really, I really want to reread it. I'm going to reread it. Acceptance, I feel like, is largely what I took away from it. Welcome to the next part of the video where one of my favorite books of 2020 in my top 3 like favorites. Girl, here it is 2022 and I'm still saying it's 2020. A Little Life. Oh my god, this is an 800-page beauty, and as soon as I finished it, I was like, yeah, I want to reread this. I didn't because of my Goodreads challenge. That's the only reason. This book was stunning. After it, I watched so many interviews of the author talking about it, and I was just amazed. I mean, as it says right here, it's about 4 college classmates broke adrift and buoyed only by their friendship and ambition. There's one kind of friend who kind of keeps the group glued together, and his name is Jude, and he's kind of, the book is about these 4 boys, but it kind of centers around Jude. Jude struggles with, he is disabled, and he's been through a lot in his life, like there's a lot of trigger warnings before you read it. Like honestly, this book really kind of like mess with your head if you're in a dark place, and a lot of people have said that, so do read the trigger warnings before you read this, because there's a lot of really sensitive topics in this book. It's considered the saddest book of all time, and I said, yeah, I want to read it. You slowly go through and you find what happens to Jude. He never wants to talk about his childhood trauma. Slowly you find out about it throughout the book. The fact that this is like fake kind of blows my mind because these characters feel so real. I mean, the first like 200 pages is just saturating you with these characters and getting to know them and loving them, like really like caring about these characters. And the end comes along and your heart just gets... My camera battery died. This video is already so long, I'm not even halfway through the books yet. I need to start going faster. But I cried harder in this book than I have about my own life. Does that say a lot? The way the author instills that much emotion in you, and you like, these people aren't even real. It's just words on a page, and the emotion that it makes you feel is absolutely insane. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's so amazing. It broke my heart. And the coolest thing is, apparently like the author interviewed a bunch of different people in different job positions, and then like wrote about their perspectives, like used their perspectives to write about characters in those job positions in the book. And it made it like so much more real and come to life. It was just, it was incredible. One of the best things I've ever read. Author has talent. I think she knows just what to say at just the right time. I will remember it forever. I slept with it. The night I finished it, I like wrapped my arms around it and like slept with it. I was not ready to let go yet. It was the saddest thing I've ever read. Normal People by Sally Rooney. I did not like it. It's not very often that I don't like books. I don't know, I just feel like I'm very like easy to please and I find a way to relate with everybody. I did not like this at all. I thought there was just no meaning to it, and I like, yeah, it was realistic, but I just really didn't take away anything from it like at all. If it was realistic and I took something away from it, I would be fine, but like I was just like waiting for it to be over. Cool cover though. Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. Such a fun read. I got through it so fast. It was just really fun. I really enjoyed it. It was funny. Little Fires Everywhere, amazing. I recommend this to everybody. It was so good. It just talks about like breaking out of like the box that society wants you in and puts you in out of expectations from other people. It's just about people following the rules, being too in the box, and how that affects you and how it affects others. I thought it was amazing, and I think this is actually a book that would be, I think a lot of books are like good left off where they are, but this one I think would, like a sequel, would be amazing. Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Absolutely love this book, and I love this author. Gillian Flynn is such a good writer. Like, just her descriptions, she knows how to write. And there was this one part where I remember they were talking about this woman in the woods, and the way she described her, I don't get scared very easily. I was so freaked out by that description. It was just amazing. And the way she writes characters, and it was a really good thriller. Read this because it's really good. The Road, it's a post-apocalyptic novel, and I love post-apocalyptic books. I love them. They're so fascinating. This one was really good. At first it was like going by a little slow. The more I read it, I was like, wow. And the ending had me bawling. I just thought it was actually really powerful and good, and it's like very minimalistic, but it has a big impact. The next book I read was an audiobook, and that is Atomic Habits by James Clear, I think. It was really good. I think, you know, sometimes you read those self-help books and you don't really take away anything from them, or like, you know, it's just like drink water. This one actually had really good like points, and I actually took away stuff and tips from this novel to use in my daily life. Such a fantastic book there. See that black? That's my mascara smudge from crying. I bawled at the end of this book. This was fantastic. I was reluctant. I love the cover too. I was reluctant to read it because I knew nothing about Greek mythology whatsoever, but I'm so glad I read it because the reader makes it so accessible, and I understood like what was going on. Sometimes it can get a little confusing, but she'll give you like little reminders throughout the book, which is really good. But this was so powerful. Like, it deserves all the hype it got on like TikTok. Oh my god, the ending. Oh, that ending. Oh my god. Every time I go back and read it, it makes me want to cry because just the way it was done. If you want to have a conversation about this book, I will gladly have it with you in the comments, because just read this. It's gonna make you bawl. It is fantastic. Next book is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. I loved this book so much. This was such a good book. Like, also the cover is absolutely stunning. This is also by the author who wrote The Hate U Give, and this book wasn't as like loud, you know, as her other book, but I think that's fine. I mean, I don't think you should expect an author after like to always have to, you know, go with those super big subjects, but there was still a lot of like important things talked about in this book and things that you learn from. Just, it's like a slice of life book, and it's fantastic. I thought it was so good. Characters felt really real, and it was like you went through all the struggles with the character, and a lot of different topics were discussed, and lots of perspectives and eye-openers, and it was just like really, like, I didn't want it to end. I was really sad it was ending. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is more of like a historic read, like it's more of a classic. Like, it was good. Like, there was a really good message at the end that was like worth reading, but I just like, I feel like I don't connect with classic literature as much. I don't know, I don't connect with it as much. But I really liked in the preface here, that's what I highlighted. As you can see, it's really gorgeous. Those who find ugly meanings in beautiful things are corrupt without being charming. This is a fault. Those who find beautiful meanings in beautiful things are the cultivated. For these there is hope. Next we have The Mysterious Benedict Society, which was sitting on my shelf for like years. I finally read it, and it was sweet. I love this cover actually. It was good. Like, it was a fun string along read, and I was interested, but I'm glad I got it over with. My third favorite book. The third book. Call Me by Your freaking name. Okay, so as you can tell, this is also one of the first books that I started highlighting. This book still to this day is my most highlighted book, most annotated. Like, you can't even see all the annotations from the side because some of them are like the same. I went crazy with this book. It is fantastic. This is one of the best books I've ever read. It will always be the best romance I've ever read. Always, 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 always. Like, nothing can change my mind because this author, I want to read every single thing that this author has ever put out into the world. This was fantastic. It was so passionate. Oh my god, I've never read anything like this, and I'm never going to. Like, I honestly don't know how any other book will ever live up to this. Like, just all these emotions that are so unexplainable, that I never even really hear people talk about in books, was talked about in this book and explained. Not even just like explained, but like explained stunningly. It was fantastic, and I love this cover. I usually don't like covers with real people on, but this one is gorgeous. He just said things so beautifully. It was very poetic, and the way he explains human emotion and passion, oh my god. And the movie is amazing too. If you want to watch the movie, it's also fantastic. It's just one that'll stick with me forever. Characters were so real. Elio is like the boy, he's the character that we all kind of have. Like, he's I feel like he represents so many of us and the way we feel in teen, like when you're in love as a teenager, like confusion and angst, all these emotions. It was so incredible and beautiful and a stunning story, and I love it. Then next book was Gone Girl, also by Gillian Flynn. This one was fantastic. I really enjoyed reading this just because it was so, like, just the whole idea of like the broken marriage. Oh my god, I finished this so fast. It was fantastic. Like, this was amazing. If you want a good thriller, read this. Like, it really lived up to expectations. Ending had me a little disappointed. It was Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. Love this cover, so pretty. It was really good. I mean, it was just more like a slice of life book and incorporates really powerful messages. There was just a lot of interesting perspectives in this that were very eye-opening. There was a lot of points in there where I was like, wow, like, it challenges you. I love being challenged, and it challenged me in a lot of ways in my thinking. The characters were really realistic as well. Silent Patient, best thriller I've ever read, easily 5 stars. It was fantastic. This is the reason why I read thrillers, is this book. It was oh my god, it was so good. Could not put it down, and like the twist, I actually did not see it coming. And if you say you saw it coming, you are a liar. Okay, I won't say that, but like, there's just like, how would you know that? Like, if you knew, I need you to explain to me how, because like, I just don't have, like, everyone I've also seen talk about it, no clue. It's so out of the blue, like, wasn't even on my radar. This was such a good thriller. Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I won't lie, I don't remember a lot about this book. I was kind of rushing through it just to get a book in before I went to Newfoundland, but it was really good, really pretty cover, and my friend Lauren gave me this. Thank you, Lauren. Alright, you guys, so my battery died again. This is driving me insane. Why didn't I charge it before? I don't know. I forgot it was dying. I also put my sun lamp on. I don't remember what book I was talking about. I think it was The Vanishing Half, but yeah, that was a really good book. Very talented author. Oh, next was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Frig. This book was actually fantastic. I think everybody should read this. Yeah, it was kind of harsh, but like, let's not be sensitive. Let's just take it. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people say, oh, it's just him like screaming at you. Like, no, it's not. There's some very valid points, in my opinion, and experiences that I really enjoyed reading about. And I think perspective, like, it's a really unique perspective. You know, like, everyone's always talking about being positive and just doing all these things and being productive, and you know, just like, and we're all such a society based on, we all show the positive aspects online, right? Social media is a highlight reel, all that's all it is. And okay, I'm kind of sad because I remember having a lot to say about this book, but I read it like a while ago, and now I forget what I liked about it. I also annotated the crap out of it. There was such good points in here, such a refreshing perspective, and I liked the harshness of it. Oh, I loved this too. Many people may be to blame for your unhappiness, but nobody is ever responsible for your unhappiness but you. This is because you always get to choose how you see things, how you react to things, and how you value things. You always get to choose the metric by which to measure your experiences. It was really like a kick in the ass, telling you, like, you know, you feel this way, but you can change it. Like, oh, it was just so good, and not caring. I just loved it, and I really want to reread it because it was really refreshing. I just loved it. Last pile. Can we get through this without my camera dying? Let's see. After that book, I read the longest book I've ever read, which was The Stand by Stephen King. This was a giant little book. It was 1,400 pages. I know the version that's not like super, like that's not smaller like this is 1,100 pages. If you want to like count that, like okay. And the print is like small. Like it took me a while to read like one page because it's just really small print. Lots of highlights there towards the end. I really enjoyed it actually. Like, you know what? I enjoyed how long it was because, to be honest, the way Stephen King writes characters and just explores character development, it's so amazing because I feel like it's hard to find authors who can write a good plot and write good like developed characters, you know, and Stephen King can do that just spectacularly. Loved all the different characters. What I liked how it explored before, it's a post-apocalyptic novel by the way, and it explored before the apocalypse and after, during. You could for sure find someone you could relate to in there. Really worth reading. I'm really happy I read it. Next book was I'm Thinking of Anything by Ayn Reid. This was weird. Like towards the end, I was very confused. I still am a little confused, to be honest, about this book and like what it meant. Like if anyone can help explain this to me, like please help, because I mean I feel like it's one of those books where it's kind of like left out for your perspective, like how you interpret it. It was like creepy and eerie the way he wrote. I really did enjoy it. Next book was The Maidens, and this was by the author who wrote The Silent Patient. And you know what? I was really enjoying it. Not only besides having good plots, he has good characters and like developed characters throughout the story from the start. But the ending, I won't lie, I was disappointed. I don't know. It's like the ending, you only found out the ending, like it only talked about it in the last like 10 pages, and it was just such an abrupt ending. Like it felt really rushed. I don't know, I just didn't like this one as much. Before that, I was really enjoying it. Next I read All the Girls Are So Nice Here. I have to say, like, I was hooked. Lots of drama, and it did have a lesson at the end, and I thought there was a lot of like it just really explores like girls and how jealous sometimes girls can feel of other girls, and like how that affects us and how we treat other people because of it, and how we can act in spite. They tried to put others down to make themselves feel better. It just explored a lot of that, and I actually thought there was a lesson within that from this book, which is why I gave it a 4-star rating. But it was a lot of drama, it was really good, and it kept me very like entertained. This was really good. I was really into it. Camera's dying, come on. Okay, next was Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. Funny because I hated Normal People. Okay, I didn't hate it, but I really strongly disliked it. This one was fantastic, became one of my faves, so good. It was just fantastic because I loved it because throughout the, okay, it was like a slice of life book, right? It was a little slice of life action, you know what I'm saying? But then, in the meantime, like, you also got really amazing perspectives on life and on topics like climate change, and then I was just talking a lot about like our world kind of falling apart. Explore being young and then wondering what's gonna happen to the world because there's so much uncertainty, right? Very unique just viewpoints and perspectives on the world that would be exchanged through the two main characters who are best friends through emails, which were like kind of took place in between every chapter. Very insightful conversations, just made for another challenging read that like challenged me in the way I was thinking. I was like, wow, like I was reading and connecting with these characters and at the same time getting like points about life and like just kind of like reading these super intellectual conversations, and it was just so interesting and fascinating and stunning cover. So I really liked that one. I give it 5 stars. I also forgot to mention in this video that I also read The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I just lost my copy. I'm sorry, Lauren. My friend gave it to me. I feel so bad. I'm gonna find it, promise. But it was really good. It was a really sweet romance. I don't read it too often, so I don't have much to compare it to, but it was really sweet and steamy and good. I liked it. I liked the office setting. It made it really interesting. Some parts I questioned. I did. But overall, it was really good. Next was Twilight, baby! I have the rest of the books behind me. But this was, your girl, this is my childhood. Twilight was my childhood. Every single movie was watched. Loved Twilight. I just grew up on it. But I won't lie, I only gave this book 3 stars, which is like good. Like, I mean, that's still a good read. I honestly thought the movie did it better. You'll never hear me saying that ever again, okay? The books is always better than the movie. But for some reason, like, I just thought, like, the movie made it more dramatic. The movie had a lot of things, like, parts where in this book I was, like, underwhelmed. The movie almost hit a little harder. But I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the descriptions of, like, forks and, like, the rainy weather and fog. Like, I really enjoyed that. The setting. But I still devoured it. Still loved it. Last book, finally. I better get through this. The Tattoos of Auschwitz. Last book I read. by Heather Morris, and it was fantastic. Really amazing points of view, very eye-opening. I do think the author could have done a little bit better of a job, like describing the characters more, like, you know, and maybe adding some more emotion in there. It was very like plot driven, I feel like. Still a fantastic read nonetheless, and I really enjoyed it, and it made me cry. Very powerful read. That's all the books that I read in 2021, baby. 40 books. I'm thinking about next year. I'm gonna challenge myself to read 45, I think is a solid. I always like to know, take a little step up. I have a lot of good books coming up, so subscribe to the channel. I'm currently reading The Storyteller by David Rohl, and it's really good. I'm almost done. It'll be my first book in 2021. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really looking forward to the new year. I hope you all are too. Let me know the books you read this year, favorite books you read, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Almost just snapped the strings off my guitar. What a mess. Ugh, I don't want to clean it all. Okay, bye. Okay, bye for real now.